How's it going, YouTube? Come on, today with another video, and today, guys, the bring to you is going to be Phantom Knight. Now, I'm really excited about this because there's a really cool one-card combo that I was able to just lab up after I got off of stream. I thought about this, and it was really cool, and of course, the second I hit end stream, I was like, this is it. This is how I use IB. This is really crazy. It's a really solid line. I did add in 9 hand traps to the deck list, Ashe, Valor, and Nibiru. As I was cooking up with a backpack in the Discord, shoutouts to you, talking about how we'd rather not use Imperium, we'd rather use Valor because of Shade Brigandine, of course. A lot of very cool ideas being thrown around, but I did have this initial line of play, which I thought was really solid. It's just Tour Guide, so very, very cool. There's different variations that we'll talk about as well with the combo, but let's go ahead and show you the main line and talk a little bit about the deck list itself. Huge shout out to my sponsors over at Imperium Duels, to Dragonshield, Gem, Cloud, RW, Grimoire, and ChainLink. If you haven't already checked out any of my sponsors or my Patreon, definitely go down below in the description, check it all out, and without further ado, let's hop right on into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is going to be the Horus Cards, of course. These are going to be the best added consistencies for the PK deck. Also helps you push through Nibiru. So what I mean by this is with the Horus Cards in this deck, you really want to be patient. This is something where you don't want to use these too fast. So what I would say is do your normal PK line where you put up like Rusty, Fog Blades, IP, and then attempt to pass without using the Horus Cards. If they have Rock, then you can go ahead and start using your Horus Cards to go back and do another board. Unless you're playing the Photon, which I don't think that card's very good. But either you can use the Horus Cards as like crazy follow-up, or you can attempt to pass and just kind of check for Rock too. Because you're not going to die through like multiple Fog Blades, Breaksword and Grave with the Reborn for a pop, and the IP. It's just not realistic for you to die through that. So definitely recommend to go ahead and be a lot more patient with your Horus Cards. But overall, these cards are insane consistency for the deck. The best card in this deck is probably Droplet Post Side. This is a deck that you can actually just pitch your whole hand for Droplet, and it just never mattered, right? Because you have so many effects in the graveyard that you can just use. So Droplet's always going to be your #1 just power card in this deck. You almost have to run this, and thankfully it's very accessible now. So definitely make sure that if you are going to play this deck, you do have a playset of this handy. It is going to be very important. So now let's talk about the one-card combo that is just Tour Guide. All right, let's go ahead and run right through the combo. So we do have Tour Guide, summon out Graph, go into Cherubini. Then we're going to go ahead and summon out the Seer. The Cherubini is going to dump the Carbonetton. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon from your hand or deck, 1 level 7 or lower, Dragon normal monster. So now we'll go ahead and summon out our Galaxy Serpent, go into our IB, and then bring back out the Graph Insert Succession. Here we're actually going to make the Rusty. Rusty will set the Fog Blade and then dump the Ancient Cloak. So now we'll add the Phantom Boots, and then we'll summon out Boots, and then we'll use both of those to go into Savage. Well, now the IB has another effect to summon out a World Chalice from the deck. So unironically, we do have a 3 that we can summon, which is crazy. Because now we have Succession to bring back out the IB. It has to go to the arrow that the Rusty does point to here. But you can go into the Accel Dragon here, bring back out the Galaxy, and then you can go into Baron. And now you can use Boots to add the other Fog Blade. So just off of Tour Guide, you will have Rusty, Baron, Savage, double Fog Blade. Which is very cool. IB is very strong for a lot of lines like this. IB was only legal from July 2019 to January 2020. So definitely a very short time in the game, and you can kind of see why. Now let's hop right back into the rest of the video. So after more theorying with Backpack in the Discord, we were talking about Flamville Guard. This card is really crazy because it does allow you to have additional lines in the deck if you do choose to play this over the Galaxy Serpent. You can summon this off the Carbonetton, and you can get to this off of the Wanted card, but at the same point, you have a lot of different play lines with this than you would with the Serpent, so you kind of have to run through what your options are. What is cool about this is instead of setting a Fog Blade, you can set the Shade Brigandine, summon Brigandine with the Flamville, and go into IB that way. So it is going to be slightly different because you don't get both negations on board, but your board also doesn't have to be like super crazy, right? Because the whole objective of every deck right now is just make it to turn 3 and kill then. So definitely a very interesting line and another way to go about it. Of course, you get more draws with the Wanted engine as well, and a lot of very cool opportunities from that as well. So talking a bit more about the deck list, we do have Ash, Valor, and Nibiru. Again, we do not want to have the Imprims conflicting with the Shade Brigadine. Also, the Valors allow us to play Selene, but we also have the Imsetis, which also allow us to play Selene, which is really nice too. It's another reason why you can play like the Wanted engine with the Black Witch, because you are able to go ahead and summon that back with the Selene as well. A lot of very cool and interesting tech options here. We are playing the level 3 World Justicar and the Galaxy Serpent. Yeah, it does kind of suck to play a couple of vanillas in the deck, but at the same time, you can basically pitch anything, even off of like your Torn, and still get value for it. It's kind of like playing Pearly in that regard, where it doesn't really matter what other cards you play in the deck, as long as you can still get value for them, right? So definitely very interesting. We are not playing like the Coach King or anything like that. I think that it's just a lot more value to have cards like the Vampire, because you don't really want to go like too crazy. And I still think that Valor on Coach King feels awful. Of course, it's really good if it goes off, but that's if it goes off. And then we have Apollousa too. I feel like Apollousa is such a crazy card right now. With double Pankratops, we'll have to see if Apollousa is the move, because double Pank into Oppo seems very terrifying. But we do have the Goddess, because you do kind of just spam board pretty often. So it'd be very easy for you just to be able to like remove something from the board, right? It's also just like a very generically good thing to have. This was kind of like the argument between playing like the Goddess or the Typhon, but I do think that Pearly is also going to be pretty popular moving forward as well. So having the Goddess is probably a lot more favorable. It's one thing that you can kind of like threaten on the board and then see if your opponent starts like spinning things back to the bottom of your deck. So you kind of have to wait and see, but this card is very strong, right? Overall, you do want to play 4 traps typically. You can play more if you want to, but 4 is always going to be like your usual number. You do want to cut down on it, but you want to cut down until you cut down, and then you're like, wow, I'm missing the other trap card. Unfortunately, it's just how it goes. Been a lot of different options to consider. You can play the adventure cards too, but I just wanted more versatility with the deck and more like really crazy play lines, right? Having one tour guide do all of that was pretty wild. We do side the cross out though, because I think that it's still really real. You want to make sure that you protect yourself from Rock, Droll, Crow, what have you. Just really scary cards you don't want to come through. If Lancia gets really popular, then you can play the cross out for the chain to the Lancia, right? Which would be really solid. You also have cross out just for like a lot of like really random things here, which is really nice. Even if you're worried about like the Droll, I don't really know how crazy Droll is. Like, it's like fine, right? Obviously it does a lot, but I think that like the Crow or like Rock does a lot more. If you do get Lancia though, I do like having the Horus cards, because they do help you at least push through a Lancia, because you have something else to do, which is really nice too. If you can at least get to like a Rusty, you can set like a Fog Blade and put up like a Happy Imseti, and then you're pretty much set for the turn. You probably won't die through that. But I do hope that you all enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already checked out my Discord, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, or my Medify page, definitely go ahead and check it all out down below in the description. The new Banlist is quite interesting. Again, I really wish that D-Shifter would have gotten banned. It did not, unfortunately. Same with Runic Tip. I wanted that to go to 1. But I do hope that you are all enjoying the new format so far. A lot to theory and a lot to look at. So I hope everyone has a wonderful night. I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you all so much.